From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Now at 6, a fire explosion at a San Jose post office after a car ran through the building. The driver is believed to be the brother of an American hero.
He was pacing back and forth and
drinking a beer.
Yeah, it looked like
drinking a beer?
Looked like he had a beer in his hand.
More on what happened.
Plus, we're learning more about the parole officer who was shot and killed over the weekend.
Everything he did was for someone else. He didn't do things to glorify himself, to get extra credit.
What friends had to say about parole agent Joshua Byrd.
And a World War II veteran who made it big on social media has died.
We used to say life begins at 40, but for him, life began at 97.
What Papa Jake meant for the East Bay community and the rest of the country.
Live from the CBS studios here in San Francisco, I'm Brian Hackney.
And I'm Andrea Nakano. We begin in San Jose, where a post office burst into flames after a car drove into the building. Police say the man behind it is Richard Tillman, the younger brother of NFL star and American hero, the late Pat Tillman.
Happened early this morning, just before 3 a.m. at the Almaden Station Post Office. Police think that Tillman drove a car into the post office and then started a fire. Don Lynn's got more on what happened and why.
The big question is why. Investigators will come back on Monday to do some more digging. Workers boarded up the front of the lobby. The car that was driven inside is left in there. Neighbors who live across from the post office say a loud explosion woke them up early Sunday morning.
It's absolutely insane that even happened.
I went to the window, seen the fire engulfing, and then we ran out and kind of seen what was going on.
The couple, Heather and Shane Roberts, say they saw a man with long hair and a beard not far from the fire.
I was watching his actions and just seeing what he was doing, and he was pacing back and forth and
drinking a beer.
Yeah, it looked like
drinking a beer.
It looked like he had a beer in his hand, and yeah, he was on his phone. So
we heard him talking about something about a federal offense and going to jail and something about Trump.
The fire department and police arrived quickly, and San Jose police arrested 44-year-old Richard Tillman. About 50 firefighters put out the flames, but investigators say the post office is a total loss.
It certainly seems like a possibility that this fire was intentionally set. Why anybody would do that, like I said, is beyond explanation.
The U.S. Postal Inspector says they don't yet know the motive. It appears the driver reversed a car into the lobby. Investigators believe shortly after, the person set the building on fire. The suspect also tagged the front of the building with Viva La, which means long live in Spanish.
As far as what the message means, that's a very unanswered question. Certainly, I think we're all looking at the way you might finish this sentence is Viva la Mexico, but that doesn't make sense either. So, we're looking for an explanation.
According to IMDb.com, an online database of information about films and television programs, Tillman worked as an actor between 2003 and 2010 and appeared in several films. Richard is the younger brother of the late Pat Tillman. Pat left his NFL career to enlist in the U.S. Army after the 9/11 attacks. He was later killed by friendly fire.
It's sad to see. I grew up here, and it's just we have never had anything like this happen before.
Like most people in the South Bay, the Roberts say they have a lot of respect for the Tillman family and now wonder about Richard Tillman's mental health.
We didn't know what kind of mind state he was in and if he would try and harm us.
No bail is allowed for Richard Tillman. For now, he is scheduled to appear in court on Wednesday at 12 p.m. We did reach out to Mary Tillman, the mother of Pat and Richard Tillman. We so far have not gotten a response. The family home is about 4 miles away from the scene. We understand Mary Tillman sold the house about 2 months ago to move to Arizona.
And while the Almaden Station Post Office is temporarily closed, USPS says that mail pickup for P.O. Box customers and notice left mail for customers will be available at the Willow Glen Post Office on Meridian Avenue. Now to a developing story out of the North Bay. A 17-year-old driver is in custody after a deadly police chase in Petaluma. Police say the teen was driving under the influence when he crashed late last night. A 14-year-old passenger inside of the car was killed. 2 other passengers were hurt. The Kia Soul that he was driving swerved into an oncoming car and then overturned on Lakeville Highway. All 4 teens were ejected from the car. The driver is facing DUI and vehicular manslaughter charges. Detectives say the Kia Soul had been stolen in Marin County. Indra.
Community of first responders is in mourning after a California parole agent and beloved teammate died in the line of duty. 40-year-old Joshua Byrd was shot and killed inside of an East Oakland parole office on Thursday. He joined the Corrections Department in 2014 and transferred into Oakland's parole office just last October. He also gave back to his community by joining the First Responders charity football game in Sacramento called the Big Pig Bowl. One teammate says he was more than a coworker, he was family.
Josh was out there, he played on the O-line, he was one of the centers on the team, he was one of the anchors of the team. Not only on the field, but in the locker room and at practices and in the community events that he participated in. He just kept us all together, he kept us all striving. We were like a mirror of him.
Next year's Pig Bowl will include a tribute to Byrd. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. CHP has identified the suspect as 48-year-old Brian Hall of Oakland. A law enforcement source says the suspect was out on parole. He reportedly walked into the Oakland office with a gun, and a security guard nearby heard 2 gunshots. Hall is being held without bail at Santa Rita Jail in Dublin on a first-degree murder charge.
Other news on this Sunday night, a chance to raise emergency funds for families in Gaza, as today marks one of the deadliest days in the 21-month-long war. Hundreds joined in on a 14-mile bike ride along San Francisco Bay. They cycled from Berkeley to Richmond and back again, the goal being to raise $300,000 to support Mika, an organization that is distributing basic necessities in the war-torn region. This comes after 85 Palestinians were killed today just trying to reach aid at locations across Gaza. Israel has now killed about 60,000 Palestinians, half of them women and children. The UN has called the violence completely unacceptable, and yet there's no end in sight.
Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
Back here in the Bay Area, a line of demonstrators marched around San Francisco's Union Square protesting against the Iranian government. They say there has been an uptick in executions targeting protesters in Iran and want it to stop.
The Iranian regime at its weakest point has started, and in fear of the next uprising, like the one we had in 2022, in fear of that has started mass arrests, mass tortures. Call your Congress members and ask for the administration to condemn all these massive executions.
In other news, Iran says it will hold nuclear talks in Istanbul with France, Germany, and United Kingdom this Friday. This comes after the 3 countries warned failure to resume negotiations would lead to sanctions being reimposed on Iran. We have sad news to report tonight. Jake Larson, the 102-year-old D-Day survivor from Martinez, passed away on Thursday. His family made the announcement and spoke with John Ramos today about the life and legacy of the man who became a TikTok star at the age of 97.
The flag flies at half-staff outside the Martinez home, along with the tricolor of France. Jake Larson has passed away, but the man known as Papa Jake will live forever in the memories of anyone who ever met him. His following on TikTok now stands at 1.2 million, and it all began when his granddaughter Michaela introduced him in this video.
I would like you to meet a World War II veteran, my Papa Jake. Say hello to TikTok.
Hi, TikTok. Papa Jake here.
With that, Papa Jake began telling stories of the greatest generation to a new generation. But his own story may be the most incredible. Joining the National Guard at age 15, a high school typing class landing him a job on the command staff planning the D-Day invasion.
Every person that landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day came through these fingers. These fingers I'm showing you right now. Type their name.
Eventually, he ended up at the Battle of the Bulge, which brought the war in Europe to an end. But his son Kurt says his own family had no idea what he had done.
What do they say? They used to say life begins at 40, but for him, life began at 97. Because before he was 97, nobody had ever heard of him. He never talked to anybody about it, like I say. But once he got on TikTok, it was kind of like, then he was shared with the world.
Jake was a special guest at the 80th anniversary of the invasion last year. There, he did an interview with CNN's Christiane Amanpour, who won an Emmy Award for it.
What is the secret of your health and longevity?
I'll have to say, don't die.
She had the trophy delivered to Jake.
You know, one of his favorite sayings was, "Why is this happening to me? Why is this all happening to me?" He never believed any of it.
Kurt says his father's adventures always seemed like random events, but when he began telling war stories, he found new meaning in his life.
He said, "I'm speaking for the guys that can't speak for themselves," and that, you're right on the money. It became his purpose to tell their story, and he just enjoyed doing that so much.
Along the way, his life became something of a dream, throwing out the first pitch at a Giants game, becoming a major VIP at Disneyland, even being introduced as a special guest at a sold-out Zac Brown concert at SoFi Stadium. Michaela says there was just something about Jake that made people love him.
He always loved to spread the message of live positive, be positive. Takes too much energy to be negative.
But his passing hasn't been easy on the family.
As much as you want to prepare for something and know someone at that age of it could happen any day, nothing prepares you for that loss.
His younger son, Carlin, says that loss isn't just confined to the family.
We expected him to last a lot longer because of his outlook and positivity, and it's going to be a different world. It's a little bit tougher. The word from France is the Normandy area is in mourning over the loss of my dad, Papa Jake.
As sad as it may be to hear of his passing, the sadness is really for those who will miss him. As for Jake, well, he always said he was the luckiest man in the world.
And coming up, evicting those who already are homeless. A look at Oakland's decision to demolish 2 shelters.
And we've just got this persistent patch of marine layer that's hanging out right over the city. You can see what it looks like here on the virtual map. That's about to start spreading out. It's coming for everybody again tonight. And it is about to get cooler than it has already been. How long are we going to keep doing this, and what's behind this gray coolness to July? We'll look at the forecast coming up after the break.
2 homeless shelters in West Oakland were shut down over the week. The city provided a safe parking zone and tiny homes on Wood Street for temporary shelter. Our Lauren Toms has more on how the once thriving community fell into disrepair.
As you can see, this is not how it was when it first opened up. A lot of this chaos is created now is because there was no real oversight.
These cabins on Wood Street in Oakland were designed to be a temporary community for people who were experiencing homelessness. People like John Janosco, who says it was here that he was able to get back on his feet.
It just it gave me somewhat of a sense of stability and a somewhat of a foundation where I knew I wasn't going to be evicted, swept, or kicked out or anything. Just provided that stability that I needed. I couldn't be on the streets anymore, and I needed something a little bit more secure and something that it represented like next step getting housing, basically.
But in a matter of a few months, it went from a thriving community run by the nonprofit BOSS, which was contracted by the city of Oakland in 2023, to this. John's former home now abandoned and surrounded by rotting food, needles, and trash.
This is the failure of it right here. Just the failure is that BOSS walked off. That's a failure. You walked off a program that was supposed to be providing for the most vulnerable of our community. Oakland failed.
I spoke over the phone with Donald Frazier, the CEO of Boss, Building Opportunities for Self-Sufficiency. He says Boss offered food and support services for at least a year, and the community was thriving until the city of Oakland stopped payments about a year ago.
July 2024, things got really difficult. And when the payments stopped coming, it just crippled us.
He says he's heard nothing from the city, which had promised a $4 million annual operating budget for the Wood Street cabins in a nearby RV park.
No rhyme or reason, no explanation, no meeting, nothing.
He told me the city has since paid the nonprofit for services through March of this year, but he says Boss is still owed through May when it ended operations at both sites. In a statement, the city of Oakland tells us it leased the land from a private owner and must return it by the end of this year, adding that repairs will take at least 6 months. The city posted these eviction signs on June 27th, notifying remaining residents, about 20 people, to vacate by July 14th. The Oakland City Council voted last month to decommission the sites. The city says the people who remain on site have been offered shelter, and most have accepted.
I just got the rest of my clothes I got to put up in this basket, man, and then I'm out of here.
Kevin, who's lived here for 8 months, says while he does have somewhere to go for now, it's far short of what the city promised.
We just want to be promised what they said they was going to give us. Just give us a place.
Now, here at the former Wood Street cabins, these residents have officially been evicted. Once a temporary housing solution with a thriving community, now turned back over to its private owner. The cabins you see here slated to be demolished. Former residents left wondering why this program didn't see more support.
Okay, in the forecast, it has been gray. It has been cool, cooler than average. And it has been breezy, and I'm here to tell you in this forecast, we're about to double down on all three of those things. It's going to stay gray, it's going to get cooler, and the wind is going to start picking up a bit for us. That's what it looked like today from the city. Time lapse, clouds never cleared there. And if you look at it on the virtual set, this is the last 3 hours, and you can see what that pattern looks like. Just this persistent patch of marine layer hanging out right over not just the city, but down the peninsula a ways, probably down to about San Bruno, and all the way over towards the East Bay, where you never really cleared over here either. Berkeley and downtown Oakland looking at this stuff. So it's going to happen again tomorrow. We'll see these clouds build in the same way. By the way, look at where it was this morning. This is how widespread it was if you go back to 9 a.m. on the timestamp there. Everybody wakes up to gray, and if we play it forward here, you can see how it took its sweet time in clearing out. I just wanted you to see that because that is a preview of exactly what it will do tomorrow. Let's do a little comparison. Kind of cool out there today. Let's just look at a couple of daytime highs, and then I want to show you how tomorrow is cooler. So you can see what the representative spots are for the Bay, whether it's North Bay, East Bay, down to the Santa Clara Valley. I'm going to remove those numbers. You see where you were. You didn't get out of the low 80s today. But now what I want you to see is the difference. Watch the color scheme change as we get a high and wide view on the map. And now you're going to see tomorrow, much cooler. And when we put the numbers on for tomorrow, your daytime highs are going to be even below where they were today. Now look at Livermore. Look at Concord. Those numbers, you know what the average daytime high is for both those communities right now? 88. That's the average. Meaning you can get well above that. Should be doing like hundreds on occasion now. You're going to be in the mid-70s tomorrow. Look at Santa Rosa at 73, and then we'll just quickly skim that tour down to the South Bay. You see what the numbers look like down there in San Jose tomorrow. Your numbers are going to the low 70s. So why do we keep doing this? And why is it about to get even cooler than that? Because the numbers are going lower from there. On Tuesday and Wednesday are the coolest days. We didn't even see the cool days yet. Here's the pattern. We'll say goodbye to the time lapse of the marine layer. And we'll take a look out in the Pacific. What's been driving our pattern all summer long? We started talking about this yesterday. Big block of high pressure out here in the Pacific, supposed to be there, but it's supposed to be semi-permanent. We call it that, the semi-permanent ridge of high pressure in the summer. Only that's been permanent, hasn't budged much. When that sits there like that, everything spins around it clockwise. So if we look at the atmosphere a different way, what is that doing? It's driving everything down our way from the Gulf. You get these weak little areas of low pressure in there. You can put the satellite on it, you can see it. Maybe it doesn't show up that well here, but it does on water vapor. Here comes the next one. Next little area of low pressure coming down out of the Gulf. That is going to slink its way farther south. We'll put that into the futurecast now so you can see where that energy is going. Here's Tuesday. That's why it's going to get cooler and breezy. And then from then on, it's just going to sit there for a few days, spinning its wheels out there. Temperatures are going to continue to stay cool. It's going to stay cloudy. Boy, that marine layer is really going to get an assist in a pattern like that. And that kind of is, at least as a little behind the scenes explanation for why we have been doing this and why it's going to continue to look like that out there with all the gray skies. That's your inland microclimate. Remember, the daytime high should be in the mid and upper 80s. You're staying in the low to mid 70s for much of this, probably mid 70s for most of it. And when we finish by looking at the 7-day forecast for the Bay, you can see what those numbers look like as well. Plenty of clouds here.
Jim Harbaugh, one of my all-time favorites. He always says, "Who's got it better than us? Nobody." Well, Coach, Steph Curry is on line one. Curry spent last weekend in Lake Tahoe contending for a golf title. This week, he hosted the Davidson basketball team for a minicamp, even jumped in for a few drills with his Wildcats. And then on Friday, he practically shut down South Bay Costco. Ann Makovic has that story.
Outside the Costco in San Jose, long lines that stretch down the block, all waiting for this picture-perfect moment, a meeting with one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
So excited.
I got a bedazzle shirt. She won't leave the couch during a game, even to go to the bathroom or get food.
The Warriors' Steph Curry was out promoting his new sports drink, Plezzy. Ken Fong got word of his visit from Costco workers yesterday and decided to come back.
I got here around 7:15 a.m. in the morning, so the line was out probably 150, 200 people ahead of me.
And in the end, his patience paid off.
It was an honor to be able to get that picture. He's one of the greatest role model.
Kevin Tran missed the line, but he still showed up, hoping to get a glimpse of his favorite player.
I love that man. I will do anything for his 5th ring. I named my firstborn daughter after Steph Curry.
No birth certificate was provided. Even a Lakers fan showed up.
I used to be, but my son converted me. So he's 29, he's in Palm Springs. So this morning he texted me, and he's a diehard Curry fan. So he said, "You better be there, your favorite Costco."
Hoping to meet Steph, who he finds inspiring.
Such a humble guy. He's such an amazing guy on and off the court, and we love him.
Well, coming up, Alcatraz gets a visit from Attorney General Pam Bondi. More on the tour as the White House looks to reinstate it as a high-security jail.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Welcome back. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi was in San Francisco this week visiting Alcatraz.
Just 2 months ago, President Trump expressed interest in reopening the facility as a working prison. There is a lot of pushback against this plan. The Rock now functions as a popular museum.
People are questioning its feasibility and whether or not it's actually needed. As to that question, Bondi said yes.
Alcatraz could hold the worst of the worst. It could hold middle-class violent prisoners. It could hold illegal aliens. It could hold anything. This is a terrific facility, needs a lot of work, but no one has been known to escape from Alcatraz and survive.
Locals, though, are not convinced that reopening Alcatraz is a good idea.
It's just a crazy idea. There's no sense to it whatsoever.
I think it's one of the dumber things I've heard in recent history.
I don't think it's possible, so I really don't stress about it.
I think it'd be a horrible thing, not only for the country, but for our budget, our debt, and the repayment of it as well.
Our CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson said the Trump administration would have to jump through a number of legal and political hurdles in order to reopen Alcatraz as a prison.
The federal government would essentially have to transfer this land from the Department of Interior to the Department of Justice. Then you would have to have Congress potentially go along with that, but also appropriate funds for the prison. You would also need to think about whether you could still have a prison on that island if it's feasible. You would have to make sure that the facilities are up to standards where you could house incarcerated people.
Levinson also said that while it seems improbable, it is not impossible for Alcatraz to once again become a federal prison, Andrea.
Well, it's been 6 months since President Trump was sworn into office. He celebrated the occasion on social media. CBS News' Willie James Inman has more.
President Trump was active on social media on Sunday, the 6-month anniversary of his current term in office. The president referred to the United States as the hottest and most respected country anywhere in the world and called his presidency one of the most consequential periods of any president. Also on social media on Sunday, the president called for the Washington Commanders football team to change their name back to the Redskins, a term that has been criticized as racist by Native American groups. And in another post on Truth Social, President Trump claimed his poll numbers have risen since the Jeffrey Epstein hoax was exposed by the radical left Democrats. The post comes as the president faces growing pressure from lawmakers and many of his supporters to put forth information about Epstein, something he had promised to do during his campaign. Late Friday, the president sued Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal for at least $20 billion following the publishing of an article in the journal last week linking the president to Jeffrey Epstein. The story published Thursday contained alleged details of a risque birthday letter the president allegedly sent to Jeffrey Epstein in the early 2000s. The paper claims the note was signed by Trump and includes a sketch of a naked woman. The president insists he never wrote the note. In other political news Sunday, ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons appeared on Face the Nation to speak about the administration's ongoing immigration crackdown.
If your agents encounter anyone who is here illegally, irrespective of whether or not they have a criminal record, that person will be taken into custody.
If they're here in the United States illegally, yes, they will.
Those are called collateral arrests.
Correct.
Earlier this month, Congress approved legislation that more than tripled ICE's budget.
Well, coming up, San Francisco is playing with the idea of a living seawall, how it can protect the city while helping wildlife thrive. We'll be right back.
And welcome back. San Francisco is planning to rebuild its aging seawall beginning next year. A while back, we told you about an innovative experiment that tested out specially designed tiles that could become part of the new wall. As for the old tiles, they're being tested at a lab. Ann Makovic explains what they found.
Along San Francisco's Embarcadero, a groundbreaking experiment is revealing promising results. At the aging seawall, a diver with the Port of San Francisco carefully removed some experimental tiles. 3 years ago, the port installed them into bay waters. Now, after 2 years of monitoring, 9 tiles were slowly hoisted up, placed into protective bags, and into the hands of scientists from the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center. Each tile has become a thriving new community, packed with marine life.
Even in the midst of the city with all its hard structures, that marine life still finds habitat, and we're just trying to enhance that.
The tiles are part of the Living Seawall pilot project. They have special textured surfaces that are intended to promote biodiversity and support native species.
Living seawalls are this idea of how do we still protect and provide the needs of shoreline defense that a seawall does, but could we add some habitat value to it?
San Francisco's rock and concrete seawall stretches over 3 miles from Fisherman's Wharf to Mission Creek. Built more than 150 years ago, it is deteriorating and at risk.
The seawalls, it's a big continuous piece of infrastructure, but it's sitting on young bay mud and squishy soils, and in an earthquake may and likely move bayward. The other risk, of course, is sea level rise.
The Embarcadero already gets flooded during king tides. Global warming is projected to cause sea levels around the bay to rise between 3 and 6 feet, even more, by the end of the century.
We need to fortify our seawall and our line of defense.
One line of defense: boost the bay's biodiversity. The more species living in the bay, the more resilient and healthy the waters will be as the planet warms.
Here's a sea spider.
As for the tiles, early results show they do indeed promote biodiversity and support native species.
So we want to do something that tips the balance in favor of native species.
From Olympia oysters to seaweed and crabs, scientists have detected 10 different native species living on the tiles. Home, sweet home.
Coming up in the forecast, we've had a cool summer so far. And it's all related to what we discussed in the last hour. We've got these little areas of low pressure coming our way as part of it. And then you've also got this. It is much colder off the coast of California this summer than normal. It's always cold, but this summer is notably colder, and that's playing a role in this as well. We'll go into a little insight on why this summer is behaving the way it is, and of course, we'll wrap it up with a 7-day forecast. See what that after the break.
San Francisco is known for its artisan sourdough. Our Itai Ha takes us to one local bakery that's going back to the basics when it comes to bread making.
If you're one of the millions who think bread no longer has a place at the table, you may want to clear a spot, because inside this unassuming bakery in San Francisco, something's happening that might just have you believe in carbs again.
This is not your Wonder Bread. No, this is not your Wonder Bread.
Jamie Sams runs the kitchen at Jane the Bakery. On busy mornings, they can crank out up to 600 loaves. Each one requires about 5 days from start to finish. Proof there's nothing half-baked about taking your time.
It's a really simple idea of just utilizing what's already in nature.
Owner Amanda Michael says they wanted to go back to how bread was made thousands of years ago.
We're using the whole kernel of grains, so the germ, the endosperm, nothing's stripped out of it.
Not only do they mill their grain on site, it's grown on their family farm, taking every loaf from seed to slice. And it seems the bet is paying off big time. Customers like Sharon Garrison say it's the best thing since, well, you know.
There's no word to describe it.
Across the country, sourdough has been on the rise, fueled by a pandemic-era obsession with baking that's still going strong. Karen Bornarth from the Bread Bakers Guild of America says shoppers are pickier now, and while that's pushed bakeries to step up their game, artisanal bread takes work, and that costs more.
The ingredients may not be expensive, but the hands that make them are worth a lot of money. So keeping it accessible for people, keeping it affordable so that the market can grow is the real challenge.
Still, it's hard to argue with the taste, which is why, in the name of journalism, we had to try a few loaves.
Oh, wow.
Okay, maybe more than just a few.
What's the most important ingredient? Love. No, I'm just kidding.
And that passion for sourdough may just prove that the notion people are done with bread is toast.
Okay, in the first alert forecast, since the week you are about to experience is going to be notably cooler than average, and you've probably noticed it's already been cooler than average for most of the summer so far, I wanted to just take a moment to give you a little bit of insight on what's driving some of this. One of the things you might not think much about is what the temperature is of the water off the coast. First of all, we're looking at sea surface temperatures. It's in the 80s here in the Sea of Cortez. By comparison, that's why there's orange there. Take a look up here. Off the coast of California, it's always cold in the water in the summer. Typically upper 50s would be the average. But on this map, where you start to get into these patches, you even got a little bit of blue showing up there. That's where we have water temperatures in the upper 40s. So it's always cold in the water off the coast of California. This summer, it's much colder than even that, colder than it typically is. Let me give you a little bit more of a deeper dive into how this is affecting our weather so far this summer. We'll take a look at that map again in another way. See the temperatures here? That's just looking at sea surface temperatures. If we look at it another way, how much colder than average are we? That's what this map is showing you. And when you look at the globe as a whole, most of the oceans are either a little above average or way above average, like that current there coming off of Japan. The one place, maybe there's 2 or 3 on here, but the one notable place that's actually cooler than average, it's really hard to find that in the oceans across the globe today. But we happen to be one of the few places. That's the California current. Those are the strong northerly winds that whip down the coast of California all summer. And when you take a look at what they've done to our temperatures, for the last 30 days, looking at temperatures across California and the West, those deep shades of blue show you where parts have experienced their coldest of the last 30 days, the coldest 30-day period for this time of year on record. But this record goes only back to 1979, but that's still pretty notable. That's the last 30 days. You want to see the last 60 days? It's a bit more dramatic. We didn't change. Of course, the rest of California has been pretty warm. Some of it the warmest 60 days they've had. But the influence of the marine layer along our coast has not changed much, and we've stayed relatively cool. And when you do comparison to the rest of the country, it's pretty warm for the rest of the country. So we are living in a very unique and special climate this summer. Talked about this a moment ago. What's driving this? You get your big ridge of high pressure out here in the Pacific all summer. It's supposed to break down from time to time. It hasn't. It's been like permanent. And as it does that, it spins everything around it. Not only is it bringing us weak areas of low pressure out of the Gulf of Alaska, but it's also giving us a steady, continuous flow of strong northerly winds down the coast that hasn't let up. Those strong northerly winds, you can kind of think of it as moving along the coast. They take all the surface water and rush it away, and then all the cold water comes upward, upwelling. It wells upwards, and that cools the air above it. And when you cool the air above it, that then gives you the marine layer, and those clouds are then able to bring all that cool air and drive it on shore for us, and that's why we've been experiencing such a cool and gray summer. It's colder out here, the marine layer is supercharged, the onshore flow is stronger as a result, and temperatures keep going down because of that. Just a quick look at where you're going to be tomorrow, but keep in mind, it's going to get cooler than this. Just real quickly, look at your numbers there for the inland East Bay. You're going to be in the mid-70s, be 72 in San Jose. All right, let's get to the 7-day forecast because those numbers are about to get even colder when we look across the rest of the 7-day forecast. We'll start out with what is our warmest microclimate. This is the inland microclimate, and those numbers are staying in the mid-70s. Should be in the upper 80s this time of year, not getting close. And I think this week will probably be one of the more likely times where the majority of us will notice. Been kind of cool this summer. And when we bottom out in the middle of the week, it might catch people's attention a little more. In a good way. I don't think there's too many complaints, but it's going to be pretty gray through the heart of the Bay for at least the next 4 to 5 days. All right, guys, back to you.
All righty, thank you, Darren. Coming up next, Alfred Hitchcock lived in the Bay Area. No wonder many of his films were shot here. One of the most famous examples is For the Birds. Next. Welcome back. The Stanford Theater Marquee in Palo Alto has been lit up all month long. They've been featuring the films of Alfred Hitchcock, and they're closing it out this weekend with 2 of his biggest, both set here in the Bay Area, Vertigo and The Birds, his last really great film. And while much has changed since its release, many of the film locations haven't. So tag along for a trip to see The Birds, which got a lot of press attention leading up to its release back in 1963.
The men who covered the Capitol scene are regaled by Alfred Hitchcock, who has some comments about his latest picture.
The title is quite short, just 2 words. There were 3, but we cut the first word for and call it simply The Birds.
It's the end of the world.
It's one of my favorite movies is The Birds.
It's the end of the world.
Scary?
Yeah. Oh, hell yes. It was regarded as one of the most terrifying films ever made. And I remember just being frightened.
60 years ago, the screaming stopped. But who put Bodega on the international film map for all time? Alfred Hitchcock.
They said when you got here, the whole thing started. I think you're the cause of all this.
It was Hitchcock's last great movie. And when his crew arrived to begin filming in March of 1962, Hitchcock gave an interview to columnist Herb Caen.
He asked the following question. It is one of the most scary films that you've ever made. Is that true? And Hitchcock said, oh, indubitably. I paid for it myself, and I'm terrified of losing all my money.
Step 1, just follow along.
Where did he go?
Bodega Bay. He goes there every weekend.
Bodega Bay. Where's that?
Up the coast about 60 miles north of here. It's an hour and a half by freeway or 2 hours if you take the coast highway.
Once in Bodega, a right-hand turn up Bodega Lane takes us to an old schoolhouse Hitchcock picked for a very spooky reason.
Alfred Hitchcock was a man who believed in ghosts, and the building is a designated classic haunt.
We know of at least one ghost.
She walks down and goes and sits down, and the birds gather. And then
Now, as if this weren't bad enough, Hitchcock now makes one town out of two, Bodega and Bodega Bay, which are 7 miles apart.
And in one scene, you're in Bodega. And the camera switches, and you see the coast. You see them running down what's actually called Taylor Street in Bodega Bay.
Hitchcock's granddaughter, Terry Karuba, was actually at the shoot that day.
The birds were attached to the kids' hands. Most of them were fake. And so when they ran, they would go like this, and so the birds would be look like they were hitting their head.
Don't they ever stop migrating?
Another trick showed birds in the Bodega skies that were actually filmed 60 miles away, circling, what else? The San Francisco dump.
Where are they heading?
The birds were then grafted onto the background whenever they needed them.
Something like this happened in Santa Cruz last year.
He heard that there was a real-life attack, and he knew he wanted to put that into his film, and in fact he does.
That's right, sir. I recall it.
That conversation takes place in what was once a small diner.
The Tides restaurant was the center or heart of Bodega Bay in the movie.
Still is, actually, except it is vastly expanded. Now, back in the day, the owner, Mitch Zankich, didn't charge Hitchcock a dime for shooting on the premises. All Mitch wanted was his 15 minutes of fame.
The owner of the Tides gets a cameo appearance, and he also gets a line in the film.
And that happens in this crucial sequence, which took place right there.
As Melanie is attacked by a bird wall in a boat, he comes running down and asks Rod Taylor, what happened?
What happened, Mitch?
Gull hit her.
A gull?
That's his big moment.
In the end, Hitchcock didn't lose money. He ended up making 5 times as much as it cost him to produce the film. He also made one more thing, a lasting impression.
Just ask the Tourist Bureau in Bodega and Bodega Bay. Apparently 10,000 tourists come looking for Hitchcock sites every year.
60 years after filming wrapped here, Bodega is still very much for the birds. You know, Tippi Hedren, the star of the film, is still alive.
Oh, wow.
95 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, still going strong. Yeah.
Beautiful story.
Thank you. And Hitchcock had a home in the Bay Area. He lived in Scotts Valley.
We showed your one on Vertigo last night, by the way.
Was
just as good. Just as good.
All
Yeah.
right, 60 Minutes is next. We'll see you back here at 11. Thanks for watching.
Nice.